Hello, my name is Pavel Martinov and I welcome you on my YouTube channel. Today in this video we will speak about dynamics in chess. What to do if you sacrifice some material, how to get the compensation for it, what to do if you have a compensation. We will see a nice example and you will learn dynamic factors of chess. So, let's start. So, let's start with the example we have. This is the game between two famous grandmasters of the past, Gurevich and Tal. Gurevich played white color, and the opening was quite out of the theory, the main theoretical lines, so seems it can be more interesting even. We can see that black they have two bishops, but the position is quite closed. And here he played a nice move g4. The idea is to fix this pawn structure and as well to have a space for the knight to go somewhere, maybe even create some treatments on h5 to the bishop on g7, or maybe to support the attack in the center following by e4 somewhere, I don't know, so we'll see out in the game. But this move is actually really nice from the positional side. It seems that the white understanding the positional moments. So let's see how it was. Queen e2, white wants to develop the pieces, black as well. Castles, king b1. White wants to improve the position of the king before start their game in the center. And that is actually a really nice trick because the position is quite close and the develop is quite finished. So we have a time to improve all our pieces before the great battle. So king b8, black doing the same way. Bishop c2. Rook c8, and here is a d5, so white wants to start a fight in the center, and black took on d5. If black will play, for instance, e5, it's a huge positional mistake, because after bishop f5, white wants to force an exchange of the bishops, and after the exchange of white color bishops, all these white squares, they will be so weak, and white knights will use them to jump on. And this bishop on g7 will be really bad, because he cut it by his own pawns h6, g5, e5, and d6. So it's no even space for him to go somewhere. That's why this move a huge positional mistake, the e5. So e takes d5, and here we are starting the dynamic play. Bishop f5 white played. So they are ready to sacrifice a pawn for dynamic factors. Knight f5 was also possible, but this leads to a quite equal position after several moves, as we can see. So rook b6, rook to queen e5. Right now this bishop is under the work, so he has a space on the diagonal, the long one. And actually the position is around the equal. So white wants to avoid this. And they play the tricky move bishop f5, and after d takes c4, takes on d7, takes, knight f5, bishop f8, queen takes c4. So what we can see in the position, black have extra pawn, but white have a huge compensation for this. I think that the position dynamically is around the equal, because a pawn is actually a real material that black can use somewhere in future. But we can see that this one guy is out of the game and this knight is actually quite brilliant. So that is like a dynamic position, and it's interesting to see how it was in the game. Queen e6, trying to force queen exchanges. After white can take a queen and take after on d6, it will be a quite equal ending. So white wants to play knight e5 to continue the dynamic play. So after the exchange, for example, if we will exchange the pieces, we can see that this guy is much better than this one. And actually the d6 pawn is really weak, and we are speaking about the, I think, even advantage for a pawn for white. So black wanted to save this guy, played knight d7. Actually, h5 was also possible. After f3 to support the g4 pawn, rook j8, the position is really interesting as well. So, knight d7, f3, h5, e4, white trying to support their brilliant knights in the center. knight e5. Black actually made a mistake, and we will see this. Better was to play h4, and after queen c1, the tricky move trying to attack the pawn on g5, rook g8, the position is really unclear. I mean that according to dynamic factors, I mean the position of the pieces, and this bad guy on f8, white, they have a full compensation for the pawn, but same time black, they have an extra pawn, and somewhere it can be really useful, even in the ending. So the position is really interesting, and it's hard to play for both sides. But in the game, Tal made a mistake and played to e5. And after queen c1, we can see that two pawns are under attack, g5 and h5. So for example, after h4 here, you can take on g5, h3, and the first h variation we have on the board that leads to the really good position for white. So let's check it out. Takes on e6, takes, rook d3, knight e5, rook d2, and the position is really better for white. So we can see that white knights are really good. We have a material equal in the position, and this guy is still bad. So this position is completely better for white. So let's return to the game. After queen c1, I think the knight e5 was a blunder, and he missed the queen c1 in the moment. c4, he played, takes on g5. And now we can see that we return the pawn with white color, and our knights in brilliant positions. So we're speaking about the advantage for white. In the game was knight d3. So black wants to create some counterplay, trying to attack a b pawn. Here, takes on h5, takes. So the position is transferred completely, because right now white, they have an extra pawn. Several moves ago, black had extra pawn, so it's interesting. Queen a5, trying to create some counterplay. Here, like queen f6 was also possible, trying to exchange to a better endgame, but white, they played queen d2, so trying to defend. Rook c5, black wants to play rook b5, following the attack on b2 pawn. That's why white wanted to prevent it, and they played knight c3. d5, trying to make some counterplay, queen f3, d4, but this move leads black to a bad endgame, but still it was hard to suggest something because white had clear advantage. So let's see how Gurevich won this endgame, because it was few interesting moments. b3, rook h2, again trying to make some counterplay, knight f5. So knight f5, I want to play on d8 to win this guy. King c8, king f3, knight f3, I'm sorry. So right now we can see that is a really clear advantage. Two extra pawns for white. So, and that's the treatment are going to end for black. So how to improve this position with white? Because this is the end game, we don't need to forget about our king. And king b2 is really good, because the king is going up to the center to work with other pieces. And this is actually a really nice move that's improving white position and getting them closer to win. Rook d2, it's a prophylaxis move, because this rook taking g2 pawn under defense and a2 pawn. So right now, king c3 will be possible move. And don't worry about knight takes d5, because we can take even with the knight. The g2 pawn is protected right now. Returned, king c3, white following their strategy. Rook h1, and here again a nice move, because we need to remember about prophylaxis in endgame, and to shut down all counterplay of your opponent when you have a material advantage. And white played rook d1. It's a tricky move. White wants to avoid some counterplay with rook c1 or rook a1 by black, and it's bad for black to trade rooks, because white will have two clear extra pawns and no way to counterplay after the rook exchange for black. So rook h2, f4, cutting the e5 square to a knight and trying to improve the position. Rook h4, king d3, so king is under safe here. And actually, in this position, black resigned because we can see that there's a two extra pawns, clear extra pawns for white. And after, for instance, takes on e3, we can take by king, and this pawn is under defense. So we can say that there's a technical winning position for white, and that's why Tal resigned. So from this game, we learn the dynamic factors. So you can sacrifice material for dynamic factors, how it was in the game, and you will still have a counterplay, and the position can be really unclear, and both sides can have their chances. And in the end of the game, we saw how white played really nice in the end game, and you can use all these tools that we described in this video in your own games to win them. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and visit my website PavelChess.com to work on chess with me. Have a good day.